one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Approval of minutes. Has everyone had a chance to review, and are there any questions or comments?
They look good. Madam Chair, I make a motion, we approve the minutes.
I have a second.
September 30.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Public participation? There is none. Okay, so Brendan, you ready for your report?
Yes, thank
Okay.
you. Just now I'm gonna remember to turn it on. Just a quick update on some of the things our maintenance team has been working on. Continue to do their seasonal tasks, cutting, field prep, emptying trash barrels throughout town, and assisting with special events. They recently completed work at Fox Hill, including trimming bushes, removing old landscape timbers, power washing the memorial bench, and reconnecting any downspouts that were disconnected. Jacobson large area mower that went out this summer for repair was sent out again, not the same issue. This is a wear issue, I think, that no one was really aware of. The bracket on the AC condenser on the back of the cab, or inside the compartment, the bracket snapped and hit an oil line going into the engine. So part of the oil line is stuck in the engine block. It has to go up there to be removed. Only good part about it is we're towards the end of the growing season. This week's warmth and any irrigation that's on will, push some growing, but we should be okay. But we do expect the mower to be out of service for the remainder of the fall. We still have our other large area mower, and we have the zero turns, and we have another 9-foot deck on a Ventrac that can go out. It doesn't actually. We've been using that on the ball fields the last month or so because it does a really nice job cutting and giving it a final cut. The Council on Aging was given one of the ceramic pigs, Poppy, that adorned the common this summer, and its new home will be the planting bed in front of the Human Service Building. We'll be adding a cement pad and securing it to that. We did have a volunteer group from the Robert Half Company here in Burlington, cleaned up the planting beds in front, assisted us, helped get those all cleaned up, and then the planting bed along the back by our offices as well. Gave it a little cleanup, pre-leaf cleanup. Got any of the weeds that had grown in since it was done last, and looking nice. And then they're already talking about coming back next spring and trying to do it on a semi-regular basis, which is very helpful for us. So we will be touching base in February. Over the last few weeks, the early fall fertilizer and seed overseeding was applied to all the athletic fields. There will be one more application that we'll do in November, middle of November. That'll get us through the winter and get us, pre-emergent stuff for the spring. And we're completing some repairs on the irrigation systems. We have one more Rahanis left to do, and are working on blowing out and winterizing the system. Some of them have already been done. So we are getting ready to shut those down. And then usually the last thing that gets shut down are the bathrooms at Simons Park. We leave them open through the Spooktacular. We'll leave them open this week. We try to shut them right before Halloween. Just keep any mischief down on Halloween night. So that's coming up. And then the field house here for the football games, the locker room areas there, we do those usually last. After they're done with games, we'll go in and blow those out as well. And then, so that's what our maintenance staff has done. They did a nice job getting Simons Park ready for the Spooktacular. I think they spent most of the day up there on Friday. We're up there on Thursday as well, just giving it a final cut, cleaning it up, getting the bathrooms ready, trash barrels out, all the things we needed for the special event. So that's great. And they've been working on the T-pads. I think we have 4 of the 9 T-pads completed. They're on to the 5th now. They look really nice. Once all the T-pads are in, we'll go in and set the baskets, the new baskets. And I'm imagining in the spring, we'll order the signage over the winter, the new signage, and we'll be ready to go in the spring. It's taking a little longer, but our staff has done a nice job on the T-pads. They really look nice, like professional. So it's good. Excited about it. I'm going to jump an item here. Not sure if you were aware, but after some delays, the Francis Wyman baseball field project got underway. I think they staged the Friday before the Columbus Day weekend there, and they began on that Friday, the project, which consists of moving the infield out a little, about 30 feet. They've taken down all the fencing, new dugouts, new fencing, extending the infield as they push things out, infield into the outfield, some a new service driveway up the left side of the property that kind of circles around, comes behind the dugout. There's flagpole. There'll be netting that goes up higher over the dugouts, and then fencing, as we mentioned, down throughout the foul lines, past the dugouts, and I think about a third of the outfield fence will be new temporary fencing, and then they'll do some new irrigation because the way the infield will be laid out now changes how the irrigation was set up there. So they're hoping to get sod down, I believe this week, he told us, just because we're getting to the end of the season. They got to get sod down. Sod will root pretty quickly if it has cool conditions, and it's we get some regular rain. It should be all right to go. They will be planting some grass in areas they disturb beyond right field. They're gonna do some scraping of the earth there. There's a small incline that comes towards the field. They'll just level that out to keep water from really rushing down onto the field. So some drainage work out there. We're excited for that project to conclude. Heimlich Landscaping is the general contractor for the project, and it's being overseen by the school, by Bob Cuna, and we work with him, and any questions, he's been very responsive and able to give us the answers we're looking for. And then with that project, it did require us to close the backside, so beyond the outfield of the existing baseball field. We did have 2 7v7 soccer fields out there for youth soccer. The way the construction fencing went, it went right through 20 yards onto the 2 soccer fields, the full length. So we were able to move their practices around to other fields in town, and then they're going to play their games for the last 3 weeks over at Miter. We had some 9v9 fields there, but they weren't using them all the time, so they're able to do their games there on Sunday, and so we had to reline them as 7v7. But it is working out for them. And then the community gardens have to have their plots cleaned up by the end of the month, and they will be, we did give them permission for the last 2 weeks for them to park on Laurel Lane. We were there today. Most of the plots are cleaned up already. There's maybe 4 or 5, I think, that had to be cleaned up. So, late start to the project caused some, little hiccups, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not that bad. We're able to shift. I wanted to touch on, at our last meeting, we discussed how we were asked to present at the State House for the Massachusetts Recreation Park Association Advocacy Day. I'd like to thank Assistant Director Kelly Lehman and Therapeutic Rec Specialist Emma Andrews for putting together the talking points for the day. It was a great opportunity to showcase the positive things we do here in Burlington, and a chance for our team to be recognized. We got, I think, a lot of good positive feedback. BCAT did cover the event and produced a nice piece and I believe it's available on their site. Did we load it to our social media? I forget. No. So it is available at BCAP, but if you'd like to see it, we can also send it to you as well. And then I'm going to leave the land and water conservation stuff for Kelly. I know it's in her report, but I do want to talk about the Overlook Park area in general. We did have some cleanup to do behind what was the old maintenance garage. For years it had been, we don't have anywhere to put the debris we clean up in parks, the branches, the leaves and things like that. Trying to identify a spot in town where we can at least keep piles and then have them picked up quarterly during spring, summer, and fall. By a company that will come and take the yard waste and produce. They'll produce mulch out of it. They'll produce topsoil as well as loam and oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank. They'll take it away. We don't have anywhere like that. We do have to clean up this area before we start the project. So after getting a couple quotes, reaching out to 3 companies, I did receive 3 quotes, and Crescio trucking will be taking care of that for us. We have some other debris piles that have like old footings from playgrounds that have come down over the last 25, 30 years. He'll be removing those as well. We got a very good quote from him, and he should be starting this week. I thought he was going to start tomorrow. I didn't see that he had loaded in his equipment yet, so I'll reach out to him in the morning and see if he's starting. But that will clean up the back, and that will be money that does not have to come out of the project costs. As you saw in my report, the Wildmere Playground project the equipment is delayed. The earliest it would ship would be November 11th, which we do have the swings portion of it, the net climber that is coming. The nets have been delayed coming in, which causes everything else to delay. The support posts, they're not going to ship those without all the netting. So the project does have a port in place, so that rubber surface. So we will not be taking down a playground because we won't be able to do a port in place with the temperature. Not today. Temperatures are great today and this week, but we won't be able to do it. They have to be above 50 degrees on a regular, consistent basis. So I don't want to remove a playground and have nothing there for the winter because the neighborhood does utilize that playground. So we will be starting in the spring with that. We'll still be receiving the equipment as soon as it can come out, get to us. I did speak with not only the vendor, the local vendor, but at the national conference, I did speak with the operations person for the playground manufacturer, and he did apologize. I don't know if there's anything they'll do for us. We ordered in July when money was became available. We did order. I think the volume maybe they took in, the net, the product they're getting, where they're getting the net climber from, just has taken longer. So we will be, we'll have to redo that contract because it's not going to meet the requirements, the date requirements. So we'll have to redo that contract to go for the spring. And then I think that's it. So we're going to leave that playground as is for the winter, and we'll pull it out come the spring. So that's all I have for my report right now until we get to new business.
Okay, comments?
All right, I'm first. Just a couple of comments, Brendan. It's nice to see that they're moving forward with the Francis Wyman baseball field project. I see that Heimlich Landscaping is the contractor on that job. They do fantastic work. They did the Burlington High School. I think they did Mary Cummings. They're just a good contractor, and they know what they're doing. So I'm sure it's going to come out really well. I don't think they're not doing sprinklers in the outfield, are they? Is it just the infield?
So everything is, the whole property is irrigated already. So it has irrigation throughout. They're just they're doing new zones for the infield. so that you can, because it's moving. They had infield zones before, but now that it's moving, they have to recreate those infield zones 30 feet out.
Sure.
So the whole field will be irrigated.
Oh, good. All right,
Yeah.
excellent.
Yep.
Just happened to drive by Mary Cummings Park at night one evening, and I noticed the solar lights that were up there. They were phenomenal.
Yeah.
You know, the
Yeah.
kids were still playing. I think it was 8 o'clock at night. It was dark out and quiet as a mouse. You couldn't hear anything, and they did a nice job on the field. So I don't know if they're going to make that something that they do on a regular basis, but
They asked me already if they could get 2 more for this year, and they're sold out. So I think it was successful for them. I asked them to put the lights down on Fridays. I've been here on a Saturday morning, and the lights are down. You know, they're okay. I'm okay if they leave them up Monday through, Thursday night, but Friday night, roll them down for the weekend so they're not, I don't want to say an eyesore, but they're not up there. And but yes, they commented that it's been great for them. They would love 2 more so we could spread them out and have 3
are we
down each
leasing
side.
those, Brendan? Are we leasing those?
They are leasing them, yes, for 2 months.
Okay.
So I booked them in June or July, and, got them, so they were reserved. So when they came off their last job in, August, they were reserved, they didn't go back out. So we'll do the same, if soccer wants to pay for them again next year, be more than happy to reserve them for them.
Yeah, worked out very well.
Yeah, thank you.
My other comment on the debris that the Crescio is taking out of Overlook Park, I don't know if it's a possibility, but the DPW has been using the area behind the cemetery building at Chestnut Hill to dump stuff for years. It used to be a ravine down there, and over the years, they filled it up. I don't know if that could be a temporary storage spot for us, but there's space there.
I have talked about that one. There's another property that the town owns that could be a possible spot. And really, it would only be for like a 3-month stretch, and then we'd have a company come in and haul it out of there. There will be an expense for that, but we can't use Overlook after this project starts going. So, yeah, if anyone thinks of anywhere, and it's clean material, it's branches, other limbs that come down, leaves. We don't do a lot of grass catching on some of the municipal buildings we do, but when we're using the zero-turn mowers, out on the edges of the common, we try to recycle, right, and put it right back into the grass. But sometimes we do have to catch, and so it's not so much grass, it's more of the limbs and debris and leaves. And they'll compost, so that's what I was gonna add, it'll get you nice compost. That's what I was trying to think of before. So if we had an area that we could mix it ourselves, it's definitely something that some municipalities do, have those yards. Lexington has a whole yard waste center, and they create it, and then they sell it back to communities. So if we had an area that we could do that ourselves in, some long windrows with some, asphalt or cement slabs, and you put the leaves on it and mix grass into it, and you have to turn it, every week or so for a while. It breaks down pretty quickly, and you can wind up with some good loam and compost. So who knows? Down the road, something to build for.
Lindsay's
Definitely.
backyard, she volunteered that.
A lot of people do it in their backyard and
In the
throw their
compost,
food
yeah.
scraps in, right? Because that helps the aerobic breakdown go faster, so.
Put that on punch list. The adult big wheel race and then composting townwide, got it.
Brendan, there's that, because I used to use them, there's the curbside Black Earth Compost Company that, obviously, it comes to certain houses, obviously, it's not something that the town offers at this moment, other than through Black Earth, but is that something that they could maybe give us ideas on where we might be able to, because they sell the compost at Whole Foods and everything.
Yes, and they're up in, I believe they're in Wenham. Is Black Earth in Wenham? No, Brick M Farms is in Wenham, and they do the same thing.
Yeah.
Ours is real, yes, they could down the road, right, give us some ideas, definitely. Our big thing is that space, right? Is having enough space for our vehicles to enter, dump stuff. We have The Housing Authority, I think, has used behind our old garage before. I think other DPW, if they picked up limbs or whatever places, you know, so we really need something that everyone in town can, all town departments can benefit from and use. So we'll keep working on that.
Town departments.
Yes.
And the other town departments are tracking they can't use Overlook anymore, right?
Well, I can't tell you how many times I found the gate open, and I know we've locked it, so, or shut it, but, yeah, so we're, I have a couple places that I've brought up to Brian White, so one in particular that I think could work, so we'll see.
That's all I have.
Anything else?
Just one more quick, so I was up there the other day at Overlook. So off to the right is where Cresco's taking all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So where the basketball court is, that's gonna be obviously eliminated. Is that something
Right.
that they could take out now? Because I'm trying to picture,
Yeah, it is gonna,
that's a big area off to the right,
yep,
and then as you go to the left, I mean, it's just an eyesore right now, right?
yeah, maybe I can
I
talk
think
to them
I-
and see
I-
if they can take down the fence and the basketball hoops.
I mean, I think that thing would take 2 seconds to do in there.
With the equipment they're gonna bring, you know, the
Yeah, 'cause
big
I know he's
excavator
got-
with the
yeah,
claw on
he's just
it.
gonna go, you know, I don't know,
Not a bad idea, it will save us
You dealing with
into,
Joe? Who are you dealing with? Dave, Joe, the Crest Show? I mean, I just think they would do it if you asked them. It's
might.
just a thought.
I will, that's a good idea. I will broach that
Um,
subject with them, I'm sure he will do it.
I'm looking forward to that getting done.
Yeah,
Overlook.
we're excited. The project as a whole is going to just be an awesome amenity for that area of town, for the town in general, but
Yeah,
especially for
yeah.
that area. Because there are a lot of young families in that neighborhood now, and they're using the park. There are people up there on the playground today, you know, moms and kids and grandparents, and so it's going to be an awesome resource for the town.
That's it, Madam Chair.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Nope.
Okay. Kelly?
Thank you. So I'm going to start with the outdoor facility master plan update. As you guys all know, you've received the full report link at least, and we were able to release the modified version, the 46-page version without all of the amendments to the community as a whole. Thank you. Sorry. And that has been out for, to the public for the last week or so. We've received probably, I think I looked right before we left, and we're around 40, 45 feedback forms for people who have read it and wanted to give their thoughts. We have kept it open for public input through next Monday, October 28th. You guys are welcome to either fill out a form there if you'd like, or if you want to give us your direct responses or concerns or modifications. We'd love to hear your thoughts on the report as a whole. And then once the feedback period is closed, we'll compile all that information and then make any necessary changes or additions to the report. Obviously, all of the feedback will be added to that larger document that you guys have seen as an
Addendum.
addendum. I can never say that word. It's a funny word. And then once it's completed, we'll have Weston and Sampson come in and do a presentation to the commission for the report as a whole. On last Friday, I had the pleasure, Friday before last Friday. Yeah, because it's Monday. On October 11th, however long ago that was at this point, I was able to go down and meet with K&R Landscaping and along with Roger Cook's son and his family, watch as they planted the tree in Roger Cook's honor on the Common. It's a beautiful maple tree. If you haven't seen it yet, it's right across from Town Hall. That was a really great, a good time. It was fun to watch, teach all his sons how, you know, what they needed to do to get the plant rooted and moved. It was great. It was a good time. And it sure was a great way to honor Mr. Cook. And then the Land and Water Conservation Grant, the work continues on the grant itself. We're working on finalizing the contracts with both the state and federal ones. We're having the property surveyed, so we're getting quotes to do that. And we have been meeting to discuss elements of the projects, including meetings with conservation. We have a meeting with planning to talk about permitting and what kinds of permits we're going to need moving forward, just so we can prepare that. We've met with Weston and Sampson to talk about potential final design and developing bid documents that will go out. And we've also met with Eversource to talk about how the process of burying all of the electrical lines up there is going to look, and what we need to do to make sure that happens. And as Brendan was just talking about cleaning up the property so that we can get ready to really go out to bid before the winter months actually come. That's all I have.
Any comments?
Dave's going first.
First off, excellent job on Saturday on Spooktacular.
We will let the program team know.
I just, obviously my kids are older now, but someone who, I've been to it before, but just to see, as being a resident of Burlington and seeing events in other towns, but an event like that, that's become a big event, especially in the last 3 or 4 years, with the crane drop, and the amount of people that show up. It was a beautiful day, obviously. You couldn't ask for a better day. But the amount of work that your staff puts in for that day is awesome. And if you're a resident of Burlington, you have children, and you're around for that weekend, I mean, you can go from 3 o'clock to 8 o'clock at night and have an unbelievable event that you guys had up there. So you guys and your staff should be proud of yourselves.
Thanks, we'll pass that along for sure.
We will. And you mentioned our special events here. We had visitors from Medfield in Hudson, New Hampshire? Jaffrey, New Hampshire, come and check out the event because they want to do something similar. One wanted to do something, a candy drop for Easter, instead of their Easter egg hunt or whatever. So it was, I think that, makes us happy to see that other communities recognize it as well. And our program team and TR team did an awesome job getting that all set. We just try to stay out of their way, to be honest. Like, tell us what we can do to help you that's out of your way, that's not going to create a headache for you. They're really good, the energy they have. I think I'm going to speak for me, but probably for Kelly too, it keeps us going, right? Because they want to be successful, and they are already, during the event, they're saying, hey, next year we're going to do that, so that's great. We have a very good program and TR team right now, so we're very happy.
I would just like to add that the couple of people who came from other communities also came because they were impacted by the Advocacy Day, and they wanted to see the treehouse and experience the treehouse. So it was twofold, right? Like, I was like, oh, come for the event, but you can also see the treehouse and how we utilize it for the special events specifically. So that was also a reason why they were there.
Forgot about that.
Yep.
Just a quick follow-up. We were talking about the treehouse, Kelly. I've had several people ask me about possibly putting some seating up there.
You're absolutely
I'm sure you've
correct
heard
with
that. I'm sure you've heard that.
Well, I mean, I think we want to do that, right? So like the project itself kind of hit the ceiling for where we had funding for. I think in a future ask to the trust, potentially, we're looking at putting some seating up top, but also down bottom. So like more passive recreation opportunities down below, like where we have the little library, like add some, we talked about like log benches, so it stays natural and looks more natural down below, as well as some seating up top, but trying to recognize that we also do programs up there. So like how we're going to be able to move them around and make them fit. We've talked about potentially putting benches on the platforms on the way up, maybe with some sketch pads, like easels, so that people could maybe draw on the trees or like use it as more of a passive recreational kind of amenity within the park itself. And I think it just didn't fit in the trust this year, but I think we're targeting for next year to get some funding there.
You might be able to have them design some seats that pop, that fold up.
Yeah.
Kind of like at a stadium, the seats go up. So if you're doing a program up there, they're not in the way.
Yeah. Yeah, we've been looking at different like natural natural kind of
Sure.
structures for the space in and of itself, just so that, because we feel like it lends to that a natural look. But yeah, that's a great idea.
Maybe we can bring the Vermont crew back down for a
That's what I was
weekend.
just
We'll put
gonna
them
say.
out.
They probably could design something like
We chatted with them when they were here. One of their, Beefer, who is one of the owners,
Avon.
does, no, but Beefer specifically does sculpted wooden benches and chairs and those kinds of things. So I think we were kind of leaning in that direction, just to kind of keep with how.
No, you want it to blend in.
Yes,
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
So you're absolutely right, and it's something that is on our radar, and hopefully we'll be able to check that box off in a few months, years, whatever it may be, but,
Good news. Thanks.
yeah. Yep.
Commissioner, want to do something? Anything else?
I'm good.
Oh, okay,
Thank you.
sorry. Okay, great, thanks.
Jeremy, you don't want an adult candy drop? Like, I'm confused.
Well, we talked about that
waiting,
last
I
time,
was
and you already
waiting.
told me it was going to happen.
that's
so
true, I did.
it's
Yes,
it's in the
right,
punch
that's
list.
fair.
I know it's going to happen.
That's
so we're
fair.
good.
Okay.
We had a few other ideas going back and forth later that week that,
Yeah.
you know, we can.
Can't wait to hear those.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so Chairman's report, I don't have anything. Subcommittee reports, Jeremy, do you have anything to share with from school committee or the Marshall Simons Fields Committee?
Nothing really to share from school committee. For the field, we did have our second meeting. We met with Nezra, the engineering firm. We also voted on the key elements for the project. So it'll be a field, landscaping, ramp, seating, the lights, and then the accessible pathway. So those are going to be the, kind of minimum elements for the project. We're also in the process of identifying alternatives. There's a few asks from different sports and youth sports organizations. If we can fit things in, we're going to try to do that. And that, I think we're going to get started on a draft for the MOU on how fields are scheduled and, preferences and priorities as well. Make a recommendation to the school committee.
Any comments?
Good news.
No, it's good.
Okay. Brendan, there's nothing on new business, right?
New business, no.
Okay, so old business?
Yes. So, revolving account really probably should have been under new business, but it's our September report. So, the revolving account, as of September 30th, 2024, has a balance of $271,990.13, of which $186,682.68 is reserved for programs in a total of $20,150.97 in unreserved funds committed, leaving a balance of $65,156.48 unreserved. So this is for the first quarter of the fiscal year, the quarter that goes July, August, September. And there are a few items that we are looking to take out of the revolving account, including, we talked about a bench last year for Bill Boudreau, like to former Assistant Recreation Director Bill Boudreau. Some field hockey goals. Our field hockey program is gaining in popularity and is going multiple seasons, and we need to replace some goals. And then, obviously, program supplies for the programming team. But as we're going to get into in a minute, our capital planning conversations with staff, as we start those next week, we anticipate some smaller projects and materials and equipment purchases to come up, and we will bring those to a future meeting. I'm looking at probably the next meeting in November. A lot of times when we start the capital planning, there are projects that are smaller in nature that don't quite reach the warrant article level, and or a piece of equipment that they've identified that our staff has identified that they could really use for a program or for a maintenance task. So we do have some small expenditures to talk about, but we will bring those once we sit with our divisions and do capital planning. We may identify other things that could come out of the revolving. So, any questions on the revolving account?
Nope. I don't think so. No, do you have any questions?
You'll have, you'll, next meeting you'll have. a
Yes, yep. I mean, we have some ideas, but it's not complete. I'd rather bring a
list.
complete
Yeah, we'll
list.
wait, might as well wait
Yep.
until we'll hammer you then.
Yeah.
All right, great, thank you. And then the next item, the capital discussion.
Yes, so I had sent out after the last meeting, as we discussed, I sent out the current 10-year plan. And as we talked about, town administration is looking to move up the budget calendar. So it was before we would get stuff in December and we'd have, information to them in January. They're moving it up by a month or two. So the goal is to have the updated capital plan ready before Thanksgiving. So to meet that schedule, we have already scheduled our yearly capital planning sessions with our maintenance program and therapeutic rec teams. Divisions for the end of the month. The maintenance division will be meeting on October 29th, and the TR and program divisions will be meeting on the 31st. During that point, we go through the existing capital and discuss any upcoming needs or anticipated needs. And then we've also scheduled a meeting with town administration, the budget analyst and the assistant town administrator, meet with each of the departments to go through anticipated requests so they can kind of start putting their puzzle together, right, and seeing what everyone needs. And we have scheduled that for the first week in November. It's the 6th, 7th, Thursday the 7th. Right? Yeah. So anyways, sorry, whatever date it is that first Thursday in November. And so I've shared the current plan, and we've already had some initial discussions earlier this summer about needs, and we had identified that we need a new large area mower, but we were able to demo a smaller mower that really, a zero-turn mower, a Toro 12-foot zero-turn that really can change the deck heights on the fly. One person can do it. It's not taking casters off and putting spacers in and everything, and it becomes like a whole morning job or a few-hour job for a couple people doing that. This is a very convenient machine. It gives a little smaller cut by 4 feet, 2 feet on each side, but the flexibility and the maneuverability of the machine is excellent. The cost of one new 16-footer is about $140,000 to $150,000. We could get two of the 12-footers for about $136,000, which we would be trailering. We would not be driving them over the road anymore. We would be trailering them. We do have one trailer now, and we have money in our budget in capital outlay to purchase another trailer. So we feel like that's probably the way we're going to go on the maintenance side, because we do have to replace the Toro mower. It's got over 5,000 hours on it. It's over 10 years old. It's been driven over the road for the last 10 years. It's seen its better days. The cut is not great, but it will be overhauled as much as we can this winter, because if we're fortunate and we put a warrant article forward for the mowers and we get them, we won't see them until July at the earliest. So we do have to go into the cutting season, but it's one of those pieces of equipment that we don't want to throw a lot of money into. We'll keep it up and running, but we're not going to go through and spend $4,000 or $5,000 on it if we don't have to. So that was one big item that we talked about. We do anticipate updating our 10-year plan after our meetings with our divisions. And some things might move up the list, become higher priority. Some might move down the list based on need. So, can answer any questions?
Sure. So Brendan, that's going to go in FY '26, the two mowers?
Yes, if we were to go forward with it, we'd need them this year.
Okay,
Yes.
so that's about 130, did you say 35?
Yep.
Are we taking anything off the FY '26 to compensate for that extra 130? or
So
we're gonna-
there's a Ventrac in there. Maybe the sidearm for the John Deere might come off, and those two together might get us closer to that 130. Excuse me. You know, until we sit down and go through it, really won't have a you know, great idea exactly, but I'm thinking those two items, because the Ventracs are running well now, you know, and they're workhorses. They're meant to get a lot of hours on them. And we are using them on ball fields, on cutting crews. So they're versatile machines. I think we could probably get another year or two out of our oldest one. We have two.
And what's the plan with the Simons Park 1.5 million? Are we going to submit a warrant article for 1.5 million this year?
So we are picking up steam on, we've talked about it before, there's a couple in town that's interested in looking for some donations from some of the corporations in town. One does, the wife is an attorney, the husband does commercial real estate. We're starting to put together a group to look at Simons Park, the playground. We have the conceptual plan now that we can use as we talk to the, you know, companies about donating towards the project. I don't see it this year, 1.5 million. I don't think we'll be ready for this year. Probably next year, but we're looking at a $2 million price tag for Simons. You know, it hasn't been done in 26 years. It's ready, but expanding the area, and some of the things in the conceptual plan included some water play features, toddler, school age, as well as teen areas, port and place surface, utilizing the different topography there to transition between areas. So. And making it universally accessible. Yes, thank you. Which is, you know, there's an expense to that, but it's something that our department feels is necessary.
So it's likely we're going to bump that to FY '27?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
all right. I always, when we were on the school committee over the years, we always tried to not put too much pressure on fundraising.
Yep.
This is something that the taxpayers of the town of Burlington should fund, and if we can get some donations, that's wonderful. But we should put in for the full amount, and then if we get donations, when we get to town meeting, we can say, oh, by the way, we got some donations, so the town's contribution is going to be a little bit less, rather than try to say, we're going to do 500,000 by private donations and 1.5 million from the town. I think we put in for what we need.
Okay.
And then when we get to town meeting, we back off if we were lucky enough to get the donations. That would be my strong suggestion.
Okay.
From a lot of experience on the school committee. But it's wonderful. We can get corporate sponsors. That would certainly be, and we can maybe talk about, you know, some naming rights or whatever you want to talk about it. Sometimes we'll do that with certain, the schools have done it. Maybe we can do it as well. What else do I know? Is there any chance of moving up the Veterans Park? I think we bumped it down now. It looks like, oh gosh, where are we in? 31? I lost it now. Yeah, 31. Maybe not. I don't know. With all the other major projects we have going on, maybe not. But I've always thought about that as a kind of a safety issue. There's one way in and one way out, and it's on kind of a blind corner. It talks about renovating the field, playground, and the parking. Even if we just did the parking sooner rather than later, and
Yeah.
put off the renovation of the field. I know there's ledge there, and I know there's going to be some blasting involved, but there should be one way in and a different way out of that, and it's been like that for forever.
That, I think, so I think why maybe it's bumped down, and it has bumped down because of that exact thing, having an engineer look at it, right, to see how you can, or maybe one more centralized entrance and exit. You do have that tough coming from Wilmington, you know, when you get, it kind of drops down halfway through the park, the road, and then coming up and finding the safest entrance for that. So I think when it does come, it is going to require probably a look by traffic and safety, but an engineer to look at, maybe we can't move the entrance anywhere. If we do move the entrance, or move it, make an exit, it would have to be at the opposite end of the park, right past going inbound towards Burlington, past the flagpole and out of the existing parking lot, and then down and out. And so I think it's something that we'll have to have a professional look at.
Maybe we can have the town engineering department look at it.
Give us an idea.
They worked with us very well with Simons, and we made a lot of changes to it as we talked about it and went back and forth, and it came out, I think it came out great, the parking lot. I like the one-way in.
Yeah.
They'll have people trying to get out in the middle of traffic, so,
That grade there is horrible, though. At Veterans, I mean, it goes right down after that, so it's like, they would have to bring in a ton of, to put in, you know, extend the parking lot all the way out and then have another entrance go out the other way. That would be a big expense, though, for sure, to create that, just based on how the landscape is over there.
31.
It
But,
is 31, I looked in there, I didn't see it. Oh, there it is. Okay. We will, I can ask, I want to say they've looked at it in the past, but it could have been, you know, a long time ago, maybe something's changed that, you know. And the other item that isn't on here, and it's the athletic field warrant article that we were successful with this year. So that will be, it's its own separate, I don't think they hold it against the you know, what they allot for the department, but that will be something that will be out there as well.
But it may cause some of these to shift, right? So like a Veterans Park, let's say, could be taken out of that if we're looking at engineering costs to figure out an in and out situation, right?
yeah.
Like those kinds of things could be taken out of that warrant article as opposed to like the capital funding warrant article. So I think that's something that we're also gonna take a look at before we present next, right? Because we didn't have that as a viable option when we created this 10-year
Sure.
plan last year. So looking at where we might be able to start creating a list for that athletic field warrant article and say this stuff can come out of
Can pull it
that,
off of here.
come out of that warrant article. This stuff we might be able to take from revolving, but we need to ask town meeting for this in our capital expenditures. I think it's something that we're committed to looking at this year.
have we been given any numbers yet?
No, no numbers.
It's always a big secret, I know.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm,
We should give them the number, okay? Let them work around it. That's what we should do.
I think we'll be very similar to past years.
Yeah.
You know, 3.5, right in that area. So, the other item that we will probably be looking at this year is potentially a joint warrant article with the select board for the common, some work on the common, the gazebo, the railings and supports need to be updated, and then access up to the gazebo potentially, but also the remaining pathways that weren't done in cement, doing all the pathways, walkways over on the common. So that'll probably be something joint. We're working on prices on that now, but something that, you know, we anticipate going to the select board and saying, hey, we got this, we have this project that we, you know, think is beneficial. The sidewalks have seen their better days on the common, and, you know, the upgrade, we want to, you know, protect our infrastructure, our facilities, and make sure they don't wear beyond their time. So we'll have that. And then, you know, as we look at some of the athletic field items that can come out of this warrant article, we also have to look at, there's no budget for tree work when trees come up, right? We have to try to find it in our budget. And there's also no set aside money for fencing either. And we are responsible for all grounds in the schools and parks and everything. It's never included on the schools, like driveways and parking lots and things like that, right? But it's also hasn't been fencing either, and we have fencing in all of our properties, and just because it's rusted doesn't mean it needs to be replaced, right? It's just old, it does its job. But there are some that are failing places and that we need to, repair. We don't have that, so, I'm thinking about an article that would do fences and trees, right? That would be voted on at town meeting every year, whether it starts at 50,000 or 75 or 100,000. We'll start gathering estimates so we have an idea of what we're looking at. But when those come up, we don't have a funding source.
The school committee does the pot of money for the custodial staff to support the youth sports, so we do that yearly. I want to say it's about a $60K item that we asked for.
Yes.
Has been supported previously, so it's well within the precedent of things to be asked for.
Right, and I think it mirrors the athletic field stuff, right? So, and we're going to see that in our outdoor facility master plan. We saw, what needs to be taken care of, some fencing and stuff in there. Now, we have the athletic field stuff, but the perimeter fencing that fails in some parks, or a tree falls on it, and, we can repair a small section, but if you have, fence that's, a lot of them are 30-plus years old, 40-plus years old, that it's starting to fall down, blending old and new doesn't always work, so replacing those type fencing. So looking at that as well. So those are some things that we'll probably be looking at going forward. I think the athletic field warrant article and, fences and trees, that kind of thing, very similar to the sidewalk ones, very similar to the custodial coverage for the youth sports and stuff, will be separate, hopefully not held against our capital allotment, be separate warrant articles, so.
I think it's important for people to understand that there's no, the same way when a tree falls in your yard, you're not budgeting for when a tree's gonna fall.
Right.
I think it's the same thing that needs to be reinforced with this warrant article, is that it's to be prepared for something to happen, or when it does happen, and, it's thinking about that. You're not thinking about that for your personal, your house. Why would you be thinking about that for the town, too? So I think that would be the justification for it, is that, there needs to be a budget because it could happen. Sorry.
Fencing is definitely not cheap. I think we had a warrant article go through for one school, and it was about $100,000 last year, so.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. And if we don't use the money, it just goes back to the town-
Exactly.
the town fund. In the old days, you could cut a tree down for $500, and now the standard of care is everything has a crane, because that's the safest way to do everything. You bring a crane on site, and it's $2,000 or $3,000 to take down one tree. And if we have this fund available, we don't have to wait for the tree to fall. If it looks like it's ready to come down, we can be proactive.
Right.
Take the tree down, and of course, a lot of them fall on fences, too. So that's going to save the
it up.
fences in many ways. So
Yeah.
I would fully support that as a recurring warrant article, and I think the town would probably go along with it as well. Makes sense.
So those were the capital items, and like we said, when we sit down with our divisions, we'll have some new ideas, probably move some stuff around, and we can have a larger conversation.
All right.
Anything else?
Quick question to Madam Chair. What's a sensory tent? Is that something we can get right away? That's caught my eye a little bit.
So the sensory tent is designed to allow people who might have a sensory overload to have a break during a large event. So lots of communities have them. They have large tents. They also have enclosed trailers, like a 12 by 15 trailer that they bring on site. And people can go in there, and there's some fidgets. It's usually a little darker if it's in a trailer. They try to put sides on it. If you're at an event, it's like a fully enclosed kind of trailer, kind of space where you can go and use fidgets, or you can just take a sensory break so you're not around. Some of our events, Celebrate Burlington, Truck Day, bring thousands of people on the common, and walking around in just the common space, just walking sometimes is a little overwhelming for people with the crowd sizes that we get at some of the events. So that would provide a space for them to kind of go and take a break, maybe put on some noise canceling headphones, just kind of sit and take a minute to breathe and be quiet. We talked about maybe getting some fans to put in there. There's a whole list of things I can send you. We made a document that we gave to, well, we were gonna give to Disability Access, to talk about how we might be able to move forward with something. We were leaning more towards a trailer, just because of the closed sides. It's a little quieter.
Portable, so we can bring it everywhere.
So we can bring it to the events, or we might be able to like leave it at Simon's for Club Simon's, or like bring it to a park if we know we need to support a child who might have some sensory concerns, that we would be able to maneuver it around town as needed. But that's the idea, is that, you know, it's just a spot for someone to get a break.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Lindsay.
Might need one of those at my office someday.
Okay, anything else?
Nope.
All right, any need for an executive session?
No.
Okay, all right, next meeting?
So we run into Veterans Day in 2 weeks, I think. Look, and then Thanksgiving is 2 weeks after that, so maybe week of the 18th.
Works for me.
18th is okay on my end.
Wide open.
You said 18th.
Or it is Paul Ganley's birthday, though, my phone is telling me, so
Ooh,
we could invite him to the meeting. He's a longtime resident, probably watching.
Probably
Old hockey
appreciate the
coach.
invite.
Yes, the former hockey coach, that's right.
yes, he was the goalie coach when I was.
The other would be if we did Monday, the 25th, prior to Thanksgiving.
I will be in Florida.
Ooh. Can always dial in.
I can always dial in from the golf course, absolutely.
Does the 18th seem to work for everybody?
Yes.
That works.
I would vote
Okay.
for the 18th.
Okay,
Yeah.
All right,
all right.
all right, let's do the
So
18th then.
I will reserve the room. Excellent.
All right. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
All right, all those in
You
favor?
pick, Lindsay.
Aye.
Aye.
All right. We're adjourned.